Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for taking the time to meet and talk with me today. I'm very excited about this. So to kick kind of things off before we even get into the way home, I was reading that you actually took part in WB's TV's actors and training program and that you were one of the finalists. And I've read so much about this, but I don't really know what it actually entails. And so the fact that you actually have taken part in it. So what was that? What was that like for you?
Well, it was kind of, I think it was an initiative started to like support um like arts graduates
Hmm.
during the pandemic,
Hmm.
and just kind of a way to like introduce ourselves to different casting um people and just like kind of get out there. And honestly, it wasn't like I didn't end up doing like getting super far into the process or anything, but I just remember it being really like light at the end of the tunnel. Things were looking pretty grim at the time, like in terms of like how the world was. And so it was just really nice to like have something to push you to like, you know, put yourself on tape and get out there. And that was kind of like for me, really early days of self-taping and film and TV acting. So it was kind of like a foreshadowing of what was to come, because I graduated theater school really thinking like I'm going to be a theater actor, and everything has changed. So yeah, it was really cool.
And was that because you said you graduated wanting to be a theater actor, was because of like the pandemic, obviously, and all the craziness that was that kind of what made you transition to go into film, or was it more so like, I'm going to dabble in both and just see where it goes?
Yeah, well, kind of went at the end of my training, I started like auditioning again a little bit for film. I kind of had auditioned in high school as a younger teenager, and I didn't really understand what was going on and what I was getting into. And then kind of at the end of school, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then when everything shut down, and film was able to operate with a lot of restrictions, but still live theater can't exist without audiences. So we really
Mhm.
couldn't do that at all. Um, but yeah, it was a really exciting opportunity. It was either like I could wait for the world to open again and for theater to become something that we were allowed to do, or I could like fully embrace film and TV and just see what happens. And it's kind of scary because it's like the idea you have of yourself and your life is like one thing, but then the whole world changed and I was just like, okay, well, I should just embrace it. And so I feel like I embraced it, and that's kind of part of how this whole journey got started. um yeah, and I've fallen in love with like just the process and how it all works, and every project that I've been able to do so far. So I'm really enjoying myself, and I'm really happy.
And how did you stumble kind of upon the way home? Like, what was that audition process like for you?
Yeah, I heard about the project kind of at the phase where Andy had been announced. She was joining this new Hallmark series, and Hallmark was launching a few new original series, and like just kind of at that moment in time. And my team was like, "Oh, we think you might be great for this," and and I was like, "Yeah, it sounds great." And then like a month passed, and I didn't really hear anything. And then like I was like, "Okay, well, that's kind of disappointing," because even like really early phases, I was already kind of like it had piqued my interest of like um just the fact that Andy was attached to the project already, the fact that there was kind of a musical element that I knew about, and then also that it's really kind of a new era for Hallmark. And I think like being a part of something that's like so um yeah, it's just being a part of that transition, about a part of this like original launch of these new series. It was really exciting to me. And then I finally got the audition. I was like, oh yeah, that was the thing we were talking about a while ago. And then the scenes are so exciting. And I put a few songs on tape as well, which is always really nice, when you get to kind of use that side of yourself in your training and everything. So it was just like right from the get-go, I was like, oh, this is something that really speaks to me. And yeah, and I only found out that Kyler was working on it like after I had booked it, and that was just another great surprise. So yeah, that's kind of how it all came together.
You kind of touched upon how Hallmark is very much transitioning, especially with the way home, that it's kind of a show that Hallmark has never done before. Were you a bit nervous to take on to be kind of the launching, to be a part of a project that was the launching of this brand new kind of direction the channel was going?
I think like I don't know if nervous is really the word, but I was very aware of like kind of, I guess, kind of a responsibility, or like, and also a sense of pride of like, this is a really, really lovely community that Hallmark has created. I don't think there's all that many networks that like the people who watch the shows are really like will like go to battle for the network, you know, which I think is kind of interesting. And so it's a really supportive environment, but also like I think the show really challenges the regular viewers of Hallmark content and also brings in new people who have maybe never interacted with Hallmark before, because there's like the kind of classic Hallmark elements of like family drama and like that kind of nostalgia and you know, that kind of thing, but and the romance, of course. But at the same time, it's like it has some kind of challenging themes with the disappearance of Jacob and the loss of Colton, and just kind of like how fraught some of the relationships are in the series. And so yeah, I think we were pretty aware of that making it, but the team, like especially the people who created the show and the writers and everything, like it just felt really solid right from the beginning. And so I'm pretty new to this, so I didn't like, I wasn't like, oh, we've got it in the bag. Yeah. But I did feel kind of, I felt really confident in our team. So
well, also that, and I think a lot too is this difference is really showcased with your character Alice, because you get to see she's not a stereotypical what you consider a teenager in Hollywood. Like a lot of the times it's the same tropes you see over and over again, and yet you get to see a very different side of Alice depending on what, you know, whether she's in the past or the present. So how has that kind of been for you to kind of actually play what I consider a complex teenage girl, who most of us are at that age? So
yeah, I think that's been a huge gift. I feel like I was really excited that she has this kind of amazing transition right away. As soon as she time travels, she's like, you see that she goes from this like really difficult, she's like having really hard time, she's acting out, to this really like open, loving, sweet, vulnerable version of herself, but she can't kind of like fully bring that into the present. And so I think that's really beautiful. And like you said, a lot of the ways that teenage girls are written can be kind of like shallow or like belittle their relationships with their parents, with their grandparents. And then there's the intergenerational piece of like, it's really nice to see like a teenager interacting with their grandmother and a teenager interacting with her mom, both like as a teenager and a mom. And like I don't know, it really complicates things, and I think it makes it super interesting. So not only like as an actor, but I think like watching people see their own relationships, because no one's relationship is as two-dimensional as like, you know, TV makes it out to be. But I think that the writers do a really beautiful job making it kind of like taking it to the next level of complexity.
and also congratulations on season 2.
Thank you.
Literally was just announced. How are you feeling about that? Are you where do you want to see Alice go in season 2?
Yeah, I'm so proud of the team, everyone who worked on it and everyone who will work on it. And in terms of where I want to see Alice go, I'm really curious, because I think a fan favorite plotline is the Kat and Elliot kind of like will they, won't they kind of crush situation going on. And Elliot's had feelings for Kat since at least 1999, very well before that. But I kind of want to see like, because Alice is totally missing that in the past. And I kind of want to see that, how she feels about knowing what's like, what like her mom and Elliot are going through in the present. I feel like, you know, she has a really peer-to-peer relationship with Elliot, even though he is her teacher, because she knows him as a teenager. And so I think that could be kind of interesting. And I think we see Alice and Del really growing together. They're kind of a part of the beginning just because they don't really know each other, but I think they'll get closer. I think they're really similar. You can see Del kind of like close off when things get hard, and I think Alice can be like that too. So I think like, you know, there's some interesting stuff there. The more similar you are, I think sometimes you can be even more at conflict when things get hard. So I'm just excited to get back into it. I don't want to like anything I would say plot wise will give away the rest of the season. So those are some things that I'm interested to see.
Well, if you could describe the rest of the season in one word, what would it be?
Hmm. Unexpected?
I like that one.
I feel like I like reading everyone's theories
Mhm.
online and stuff, and I always feel like I see things and I'm like, yep, that's gonna happen. And I see things and I'm like, oh, you have no idea what's gonna like you really like I don't know. It's really fun. And I think that some people have things like really predicted, but the writers have like they've written circles around all of our theories like right from the beginning. Like our theories in terms of like the cast every time we got scripts. So I'm just like I'm really excited for everyone to see what's coming.